Welcome to today's session where we are going beyond the buzz, how Microsoft Copilot saves time, saves money, and saves lives. So thank you all for joining us today. Joining me today, I have Lisa McCrate with me. She is a practice director at Elantis. She has over 15 years of experience in Microsoft, particularly around Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. She's got a lot of credentials behind her as well. She's Microsoft certified as a Power Platform Solution Architect expert and Microsoft certified Azure Solutions Architect expert. So she's got a lot of great expertise to share with us. She uses this experience, of course, to help clients to use platforms like Copilot and Power Apps to effectively enable their business. And she's going to share some great examples with us today. So welcome everybody. This session is for you. If you haven't rolled out Copilot yet, we would love these ideas to get you excited to get started. Maybe like a lot of organizations we've spoken with, you might be using it for personal productivity, like drafting emails and proofreading documents. You're looking how to scale Copilot to be more effective and really make an impact on your business. So that's what we're here to discuss today. We're going to go beyond the buzz and share how you can really get ROI from Copilot. So Lisa, why don't you get started? Take it away.
Awesome. Here we go. Thanks, Amy. Again, what Amy said, today we're exploring how Copilot can help us design and build and refine solutions faster and smarter. And that will reduce the time from idea to outcome, and it simplifies those complex tasks, and it makes innovation more accessible to everyone. And so once we understand that potential, the natural next question becomes, what does it actually look like when we start using Copilot in the real world? So show of hands, have you ever thought to yourself, there's no way I can build an app, automation, or dashboard? It's way too technical, or I don't have enough time in the day and I just would never have the time. Hands, anybody have hands for that? Well, we got a few. Okay, good. So you're not alone. But that is starting to change very quickly. So across every industry, IT leaders are being asked to do more with less, make faster decisions, support leaner teams, and build smarter systems. And that's where Copilot actually shines. So it turns those ideas into working solutions faster with fewer clicks, clearer insights, and more efficient workflows. We talk a lot about innovation, but what truly matters is the impact it makes, especially when time is on the line. And that's what I want to share with you guys today through two real world stories with the theme or focus being time. So the first story is from finance, where time means money. The second story is from healthcare, where time means saving lives. And these organizations didn't start with a big AI strategy. They started with one simple question: could Copilot help us do this better? So we don't want to think, can we transform everything overnight, but can we actually improve one process or solve one challenge or save time in one area? And that's where the real momentum began. And from there, the possibilities started to scale. Let's go on. So before we jump in, as you can see on my screen, I have my two best friends. They're my dogs. Hazel's sleeping, as she usually does, at the front, and Piper is watching everything and guiding me through everything while I'm driving. So my beautiful dogs are basically my personal co-pilots. So they follow me everywhere. They nudge me when I've been staring at my screen or phone too long. They actually, yeah, thank you. I saw some hearts. And they finally remind me to pause or get up and move. They're like, get up, Mom, come on. So they don't quite automate workflows yet, but what they do embody is what a co-pilot should be. And that is something supportive, something responsive, and always by your side. And that's the mindset we need to think about when we think about Microsoft Copilot. It's not a tool to replace us, but it helps us do the work that matters better. Let's move on. So let's take a brief walk back in time. I'm trying not to age myself, but does anybody here remember Clippy which you can see on the screen, the quirky little paper clip who used to pop up in Microsoft Word, adorable, sure, helpful occasionally, but mostly memorable for all the wrong reasons. Let's fast forward a little. So when Copilot first entered our world, it was actually known mainly as Power Virtual Agents, which is a chatbot tool that helped organizations answer routine questions. Again, it was helpful, but it was very narrow. And if you wanted it to do more, you actually had to configure every single piece manually. Today, Copilot is integrated across Power BI, Power Automate, Power Apps, Teams, Word, Outlook. And it's not just reactive, it's contextual. So it understands your data and it knows your environment and it's there to help. So when you first open Copilot Studio, the experience is simple and approachable, even if you've never built an agent before. And you're greeted with a set of templates to help you get started quickly and don't need to start from scratch. So Copilot can then guide you through this setup, suggest topics, and even generate the initial flow based on your prompt. It's designed to get you from an idea to a working solution very fast. So now, instead of just answering FAQs like those old chatbots, we can now create functional apps with screens and logic. We can generate dynamic reports from live data. We can summarize document emails or chat threads, and we can build Power Automate flows right from scratch. And it's all from a simple sentence. So what used to take weeks of development now is taking minutes of clear thinking. So now we want to put it all into perspective. We had an opportunity to work with a unique investment management firm facing some familiar challenges. So I want to just dive into their story now. So this firm is one of the few remaining boutique players in its sector, and it was an organization with over a century of legacy and client trust behind them. And they were founded in the early 1900s. And their history is intertwined with the growth and transformation of US financial markets, evolving from a focus on agricultural products to a broad base of diverse portfolio of diverse asset classes. And just a fun fact, in the early 1970s, this firm participated in industry efforts that led to the launch of the world's first financial futures contract, and it expanded trading far beyond agriculture into currencies, interest rates, and other asset classes. So this firm isn't just history. This case study isn't just history. It's a story of tradition and resilience and continued innovation. And these are the very qualities that position them to take the bold steps into automation and AI today. So let's fast forward. Today, they are now a 24-hour global investment firm managing billions in assets across thousands of client portfolios. And their advisors, analysts, and support teams are navigating a nonstop flow of decisions, from rebalancing portfolios to responding to market shifts to delivering personalized client updates in real time. So why do I want to share this story with you? Because this firm embodies the challenge so many organizations actually face today. So that would be high stakes, fast decisions, and no room for delays. And in this firm, time is money, literally. So every delayed insight, every missed alert, every slow report can mean lost opportunities, or even worse, dissatisfied clients. So operating in a high stakes environment leaves little room for delay. Their teams managed a continuous influx of decisions, alerts, and time-sensitive updates. But their data was scattered, right? Reports were slow to generate, and the most important insights, well, they often got buried in email threads or lost in the noise. So they reached out to us, and that's where Copilot came in. So with Copilot, they weren't just able to see the data, they could actually finally act on it right when it mattered most. And please let me know if I'm going too fast. Like, say slow down or something. Or Amy will tell me to slow down. So the firm was facing a common problem that we've all seen before. So clients were calling in, they were emailing, they were needing updates right away, and advisors were scrambling all over the place to pull everything together. And so some of the questions they asked were like, what's my portfolio worth today? How did I perform this quarter? Am I up or down compared to last year? And so those were many of the questions that they were struggling to navigate and be proactive to answer. Transforming that into something clear and fast and client ready was also a huge time sink for this organization. So we partnered with them to design a secure client-facing portal. Client-facing portal where investors could log in, and in seconds they could actually see what mattered most, right? And so they'd be able to see their total portfolio value. So no more emails, no more PDFs, just real-time data. Next was performance trends. So with clean visuals comparing their growth against market benchmarks. And then last but not least, a clear asset breakdown of their equities, their bonds, cash, and alternatives, all with simple drill downs into deeper insights. And all of this was powered by Copilot prompts that simplified what used to take hours. And what it gave their clients was something simple but powerful, which was clarity and confidence right at their fingertips. So we've all been there. We're like trying to pull data from 3 places. We're pasting it in Excel. We're tweaking charts, all while someone's waiting on an answer, right? And that's what this team was dealing with. But what changed everything was the prompt. So you can read some of the prompts on the screen to get an idea of the structure that we began to teach them. And so now they could now ask Copilot in plain language and then layer on follow-ups to go deeper or to take action. And no technical steps were required. So no more custom exports, no more late night data wrangling, just clear answers, faster decisions, and more time to focus on what really mattered, right? So simple prompts, guys, can give smarter outcomes. So hopefully all of you were able to memorize the prompts on the screen because there might be a quiz, I'd say, in a few minutes. So I'll give you a few more seconds. And I'm just kidding. Sorry, guys. I am not going to give you a test, but yeah, have a look at the prompts because these are some of the things that we teach our clients on how to actually prompt the system to make these apps and flows and everything succeed. So think a minute about your teams, right? For them, transparency is trust. And for tech leaders, that starts with making data both accurate and accessible and not always locked away in systems that only a few can navigate. So Copilot helps shift that burden. It surfaces the right insights at the right time so your teams can make informed decisions about without digging through dashboards or waiting on reports. When your teams actually can trust the data, then your organizations move faster with confidence. So let's discuss another challenge they faced. They had a very difficult time staying ahead of what really mattered and being proactive. Seeing the data was one thing, but acting on it in time, that's where the real value is. So think about some common scenarios they faced. What happens when a high value portfolio dips suddenly, or when a key client hasn't heard from their advisor in weeks? So before Copilot, these moments were really easy to miss. And in a business where this delay can mean actually lost trust or worse, lost assets. So the firm used Copilot prompts in Power Automate to set up a simple but powerful workflow. And you'll see on the screen the prompt that we help them use. So if a high value client's portfolio value decreases by more than 5% within a single trading day, automatically set a Teams notification to the assigned advisor and create a follow-up task in CRM for client outreach. So it's a nice, simple prompt, but the business impact was actually very huge. So no more chasing alerts, no more missed opportunities. Advisors could stay ahead of market shifts and client expectations. And our clients then can actually feel heard and seen and supported without having to ask. And in wealth management, that was very crucial. So time is money, and Copilot helped them to protect both. What is important here is the firm didn't overhaul everything overnight, guys. They started small. They built small with building visibility. They automated follow-ups and embedded insight where it was needed most. But those small steps led to bigger change. So clients began to get real-time transparency. Advisors stopped chasing data and started focusing on relationships, which is really important in their jobs. Leadership had clearer signals for action and risk. And perhaps the most powerful shift was that time stopped slipping through the cracks. So every insight surfaced faster, every decision landed sooner, because in a real in a world where markets move in literally milliseconds, Copilot didn't just make things easier, it made them timely. So after that story, we have another client story, and this was across, this organization is across the United States, and it is a coordinated network of hospitals and clinics that work around the clock to connect physicians with the specialized expertise their patients need. So let's say when an ER physician needs to urgently consult with a neurologist, or a rural hospital must escalate a severe pediatric case. This coordination network makes all those connections happen in moments, and each call is more than just a handoff. It's about orchestrating critical decisions under huge pressure where every minute can actually shape an outcome. And their challenge was a central coordination hub handling thousands of urgent calls every month, right? For a nationwide hospital network. So behind the scenes, they relied on Dynamics 365 to manage and triage those calls, to log case histories, to track every engagement. And their call center teams were juggling multiple systems, right? And they were like manually taking notes and making time sensitive decisions, all while lives were actually on the line. And for them, time is of the essence. So that's where we came in and we introduced them to Copilot, not to replace again the agent, but to actually support them. And they started with a very simple question: can we make our response faster, our data smarter, and our follow-up actually automatic? And that's when everything started to change for this client. I like sound effects. So hopefully you all enjoyed my siren there. But imagine this: you're a coordinator in a 24/7 medical command center, right? And the phone rings and a rural hospital is on the line and they have a patient showing signs of a major stroke. They need a neurologist immediately. And so in the past, their agents would type the triage notes into the system, or they would check multiple spreadsheets or printed protocols manually, or then they would search for the right specialist and then call them. They would often have to wait for a response and then log every detail of what just went on there. So now I want you all to imagine if Copilot could handle most of that for you. So pulling up the right protocols, identifying available specialists, drafting the call notes, and tracking the engagement automatically. Again, we're not actually replacing human judgment. In fact, we're actually amplifying it because their time now can be spent on more of patient care and less on those administrative steps. And our first step was to work with their teams to build a Copilot agent. So a real-time assistant designed to handle the heavy lifting in critical care coordination. And it wasn't about surfacing information. It was about acting actually really fast. And here's how it would work. It's just a short snippet. So the rep would type in, we have a stroke patient at Valley Regional, and we need a neurologist at the closest available hospital ASAP, right? And then Copilot would instantly confirm the case. It would identify the nearest on-call neurologist and offers to log the case and notify the doctor and the hospital and update that record, right? And all the agent had to do was click, there was two buttons. They would just click send a message, and the next one was log the case. So just if everybody can think of the impact for that agent or for the patient or for the surgeon or specialist, the Copilot agent didn't just listen, it actually acts, right? So it pulls up the right specialist, it logs the case, it notifies the doctor, and it updates escalation all within seconds. So that process used to take about 5 to 7 minutes and now literally takes about 30 seconds, and all with less room for error because we've automated it. And then what we also helped them with was to build an app for their hospital support team to log visits and follow-ups. And then we also did, we automated Teams reminders for callback appointments. And then another thing happened. So as they started using data and gathering data, the operations team started to notice something, right? They started to notice that certain hospitals were escalating the same type of urgent cases again and again and again. And so they suspected a trend, but trying to prove that across dozens of facilities was nearly impossible with all of their manual processes, right? So with the knowledge that they gained with Copilot, they applied it actually to Power BI. And they simply asked the question, show me a breakdown of urgent case escalations by hospital, group by department, highlighting where the same case types occur more than once in the last 12 months. So the pattern actually appeared in seconds, right? They could now see escalations clustered by departments, sorry. They could they would see repeat issues across specific hospitals. And they had clear visualizations that made it easy to prioritize each action. So think of leadership. They could now pinpoint resource gaps. They could identify where teams were overwhelmed and work with partner hospitals to address the root causes. Sometimes the answer is already in your data and you just need a faster, clearer way to see it. And that's what Copilot did with using Power BI. One more challenge we addressed was the outreach team, again, was documenting hospital visits in Word docs. They were sometimes documenting it in emails or even on paper, right? There was no consistency and there was no way for leadership to get a full view of what was actually happening. So we assisted one of their staff members to try something new, to ask Copilot. And here is the prompt. You'll see it on the screen. So create a model-driven app using hospital visits table in Dataverse. Include the following fields, which you can see on the screen. They've listed those fields, and add a dashboard with a bar chart showing visits by hospital, and then a pie chart for follow-up status and a table of visits for the last 30 days. Make this app mobile friendly and ensure managers have read access to all records via the manager security role. So Copilot with this prompt instantly generated a basic working mobile application with a digital form, with a summary view, and with all those requested fields and a dashboard for the team. And then from there, they started to layer on some things, right? So now they're going to add another prompt that says, okay, I only want to see recent visits. So show only recent visits. And then they also added another layer that said, add a drop-down list to select the actual hospital. And then one other prompt they added was create a dashboard for pending follow-ups, right? And so that layering approach is exactly what you see in Copilot. You start really simple and then you build one clear ask at a time, and the app updates visually as you go, like shaping clay rather than writing code. So the result was standard visit tracking, clear visibility for managers, and a mobile tool staff actually wanted to use, right? And they deployed it in less than, anybody want to guess? Less than, anybody want to answer in the chat? Anybody brave? Did anybody answer? Okay, it took them it took them less than a week. So Copilot actually took what could have been like a 6-month project and reduced this to 6 minutes, all with prompts in natural language. And so they started with one challenge and then let Copilot prove its value, and its impact was 60% faster escalation responses. They had less manual entry, more time helping patients. And lastly, teams gained confidence and independence. And that's what innovation really, really looks like, right? When it's done right. Real people, real impact, and the power of AI showing up where it matters most. And again, not to replace, but to support and accelerate and elevate this mission that they have. We've now seen how they use Copilot across their outreach operations, from follow-up automations and smarter dashboards. But what really moved that needle for them wasn't just the tools, right? It was how their team learned to talk to them, right? And so they shifted from asking people to manually build something, and then instead they started asking Copilot to create it for them. So to help the outreach team level up, we taught them one core principle, and that's what I'm here today to teach you guys. And it is called the Goldilocks principle of prompting. So when writing prompts, you want to avoid two traps. One is too vague. So for example, show me that report. Well, Copilot will likely have to guess what report you're thinking of, and it will likely guess wrong. And the second thing that we want to avoid is too overloaded or too complex, right? So for instance, create a hospital visit tracker with every possible field, group it in 5 ways, filter for certain dates, and formatted like this. So it's very, very confusing, right? And Copilot might break down in there and not understand what you're actually asking. So the best prompts are not too vague, not too complex and bloated, but just right, which leads to the formula that you can see on your screen, which is task plus context plus output. This gives Copilot exactly what it needs to respond, and it keeps your teams from feeling like they need to actually be developers. So please remember task plus context plus output. So now we're going to have a little bit of fun, as Amy mentioned, and I do need audience participation, so please, please don't be shy. I'm going to read out a few real-life prompts based on the Nationwide Hospital Network case that we just spoke about, right? And the prompt will also show on the screen, so don't be worried, you'll have time to read it. And after I read it, please type your answer into the chat, and your options are going to be too vague, too complex, or just right. Does that make sense to everybody? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Are we ready? I got like a couple thumbs up. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Let's move on. So the first prompt, I need to know every time an agent looked at a case they weren't assigned, sorted by date and hospital, and flagged if the patient had previous visits or the access happened outside business hours. So what does everybody think? Is it too vague, too complex, or just right? So if you can type your answers in the team chat, that would be great. Hopefully Amy's seeing some responses. All right. If you answered too complex, you're exactly right. And so while this full prompt is really important and relevant, the reason why it's too complex is it's asking Copilot to do 4 completely different things at the same time. So it's asking them to find unauthorized access. It's asking them to check patient history. It's asking Copilot to check the time of access and sort and flag results. So the better approach to this type of prompt is to split it into 2 prompts. So your first sub prompt could be show all cases from the hospital and accessed by agents who were not assigned to them, sorted by access date and hospital name. That would be your first prompt. And then you would layer on top the second prompt, which would be for those results, flag if the patient ID in the patient's table has more than one visit in hospital visits table, or if the access date falls outside of business hours. So Copilot is able to handle that when you split it into 2 prompts rather than trying to tell it to do a whole bunch of things once in the prompt. So I hope that makes sense. Thumbs up. This one's a little bit too complex. Perfect. You ready for the next? So show me the list of hospital cases that are open. Anybody? Keep typing in the chat. I'll give a few seconds. So this one's too vague. There's no department, there's no tables, there's no time frame, there's no urgency filter. So Copilot doesn't even know where to focus, right? So just adding even one or two constraints like a department or a date range makes it much more actionable. So this one is definitely too vague. Hopefully everybody understood that one. Ready for prompt 3. So from the hospital cases table, create a list of unresolved cardiology cases escalated in the past 72 hours, including hospital names from the hospital table if available. Display a table with columns like hospital name, case ID, escalation date, assigned agent. Anybody have an idea? Type your answers. Hopefully people are typing. This one's actually just right. So this one fits our Goldilocks rule, right? It gives a clear task, and that task would be create a filtered list of unresolved cardiology cases from the past 72 hours. That's the task. And then it gives it clear context, right? So it gives you source tables, and it gives you filters, and it gives you a time frame and an enrichment step to include a hospital name via lookup field. So and lastly, it gives that defined output, right? So we want specific columns in a table. That's the output we requested. So it's realistic, it's specific and achievable for Copilot without overloading it. All right, we have one more. So from hospital cases, build a 6-month compliance report showing per hospital escalations and the percent resolved within SLAs from SLA metrics. Display a table with months and hospital filters and a heat map. Hopefully this one is easy. I don't know, but put your answers in the chat. Hopefully you guys are getting the hang of it. And it's okay if you don't get the hang of it. You will with time and everything. So this one actually is also just right. So an explanation is the heat map would use cell colors to show value intensity, and it would make those patterns easy to spot at a glance. And in this compliance report, the rows could be hospitals, right? And the columns could be months, and the cells would show SLA percentage or escalation counts. And then it would be colored. So green would be for good and red would be for poor. So this pairs perfectly with the month and hospital filters, letting you quickly see which facilities are consistently meeting or missing those SLAs. So I hope that helped. Again, it's practice, it's learning how to prompt, and that's what we help our teams and our clients do. So a final reflection are these two organizations had one thing in common. They started by listening to where their teams were actually stuck and when speed and clarity mattered the most for their teams. So the results spoke for themselves. They had time reclaimed. So once, it used to take hours and now it actually takes minutes. They began to get deeper insight so teams could actually ask smarter questions and get clearer answers. And it gave them the confidence to act, right? So decisions are grounded in real-time self-service data. So what I want to ask you guys to do is just a little bit of homework when you leave here. One simple step. You can use Copilot to create a feedback loop. So you would ask it, and you can see it on the screen, create a survey app that asks each department lead to identify one process that's slowing their team down. Later on, you can actually add, if you want richer output, right? You could add the table list requirement, but let's start here and keep it really, really quick and achievable and simple. And in minutes, you will have a tool that gathers insights from the ground up, not just to measure the pain points, but to uncover exactly where Copilot could actually help your teams next, right? And then I'll leave you with my last thought here. So real value from Copilot comes not from sweeping ideas, but with small targeted trials that uncover where it can make the biggest difference for your teams.
Great. Thank you, Lisa, for presenting. So reminder to our participants, if you have any questions that you'd like to share, get those in the chat and we'll get to as many as we can. In the meantime, while you're thinking about your questions, while you're putting those in the chat, I just want mention, you might be thinking after this presentation, okay, where do I go from here? I liked what I heard. I'd love to do this in my own organization, but I'm not sure how to apply it to our own processes or our own departments, or even just how to get the hang of those prompts. So Elantis is here to help. We're offering right now for webinar attendees a free 1-hour consultation. During this session, we'll help you identify use cases that you can start using Copilot to build applications like Lisa talked about, to build dashboards, how you can use these to improve your processes and streamline your organization. We'll help you identify processes that will have the biggest impact, what the ROI could be for your organization, and also to get the governance and security, that foundational layer, so that you can scale Copilot effectively. So we would love to hear from you. If you're wondering where to go next, please reach out to us and Lisa will be happy to help. We'll chat about your specific needs.
100%.
So perfect. Yeah, thanks again, Lisa, for presenting and for our audience for participating. A couple questions we have for you, Lisa. So you talked about building apps with Copilot, but if an organization has all of these apps being created by users, now they can do it easily. So how would you manage that organizationally so that you don't end up with apps everywhere?
Right. Sorry, Amy, I just lost my train of thought because I was stopping sharing the screen. Can you ask that again?
Yes, of
I
course.
apologize.
No worries. That's how you know we are live.
I know.
So if all kinds of users are building apps with Copilot, this is quick and easy for them to do. How, as an organization, can you govern and manage all of these apps that are being created?
Gotcha. Yeah. So again, Copilot makes it easy, right, for us to go from that idea into a working app, but speed can lead to clutter that we all know, right? And so we need to put some guardrails in place. And so what we actually help teams with is application lifecycle management. So we teach people to use sandbox environments for experimentation, right? And we teach them to require a governance review before apps move actually into production. And then we teach teams to enforce naming conventions and ownership fields and purpose statements for every app. We also teach them to monitor usage analytics in the Power Platform Admin Center and archive low or non-use applications. And then sometimes we even help teams develop a center of excellence, right? It is a place where there's a bunch of dashboards and things where you can actually track inventory, see applied automation policies, and maintain that healthy applications in your tenant, right? So again, that application lifecycle management is often what we start with and we teach before things can get out of hand and become kind of that wild west experience with applications all over the place with all of those things. So that way we just keep creativity going so people can still build all of those applications, right? But without ending up with this, app sprawl and a bunch of forgotten apps. So I hope that answered.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Lisa. And of course, there's lots of AI tools out there, and I would say probably many people in our audience are in this situation. So if somebody's already used ChatGPT, maybe they're familiar with that. Of course, we've talked specifically about Copilot today. So how would you say these are different in a working setting?
Yep. So think of ChatGPT, for example, as it's a great generalist, right? It can answer almost anything, but it doesn't know your systems and it doesn't know your data because it's open source outside of your tenant. So Copilot, on the other hand, is embedded inside Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, right? It understands your business context. It understands your security policies and your governance. And that means it can pull from your data sources securely, whether it be Dataverse or SharePoint or Excel or Teams or a CRM or an ERP, right, with compliance intact. And then it can actually act. So it can build an app, it can generate a Power Automate flow, or it can create a Power BI report, all without leaving your work environment. So it follows your organization's security model. And that's really, really important because ChatGPT without certain guardrails can get really out of hand, right? So picture Copilot is ChatGPT, but with enterprise context, with compliance and action capability. if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great thing to remember. And I have one last question for you, Lisa. So what would you say if somebody's maybe tried building some apps with Copilot and they didn't really get the results that they were looking for? Do you have any kind of general tips or pitfalls that people could look out for to be effective in building apps with Copilot?
100%. And that's completely normal, guys, because Copilot is powerful, but it works best when you guide it like a teammate, kind of, and it's not just a magic button, right? So here's what typically makes the difference is be specific in your prompts, right? Give it the table names you need, give it the fields you need, and the exact output you expect. And again, start small. So build a basic version with Copilot, then iterate on top of it, right? So think of it as a 60% starting point when you're using Copilot to start to build an application. And then it's not that 100% finished product. You do have to layer on top of it. And then leverage ALM. So once you have the base, enhance it through to like traditional dev cycles, right? So we always want to develop in dev, and then we want to go into a test environment, and then we want to go into promote it into production once it actually does what we actually want it to do. And then sometimes combine tools, right? So sometimes Copilot and the Maker Studio together gets you to that goal faster than just Copilot alone. So again, Copilot isn't replacing makers, right? It's actually accelerating them. And the best results come when you combine its speed with human judgment at the same time.
Yeah, I love that, especially, of course, there's some people worry about, is AI going to replace me? But I love the
No,
idea
no.
of just
Yeah.
complementing your own judgment, accelerating your work. That's exactly what it's for. Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Lisa, for presenting, and thank you everyone for your attendance and for participating. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye, guys.
Bye.